Hello everyone. Today's poem is Xiaoya, 采菽, a Xiaoya poem from the Book of Songs. This poem described a sort of the town hall meeting between the king of Zhou and state lords. So basically, the country of Zhou was composed of many states, very small states, could be more than thousands of them, and their size and power are in many levels. And the highest levels of those states, the state lords, they have the duty to serve the king of Zhou, and other small states are allocated to those high-level states. Normally was so-called in Chinese as 诸侯. 诸 means many, those. 侯 means they are under their duty to the king of Zhou. So that's basically the basic idea or meaning of the term 诸侯. As such, the whole country of Zhou was in a fine, organized structure with many levels. The most high level is the king of Zhou, and under him was the state lords, so-called as 诸侯, and under those state lords, 诸侯, there's many much smaller states controlled or ruled by those state lords. The daily management work was by the king of Zhou together with the officers in the central government, while those senior state lords, 诸侯, they will pay a visit to the king periodically, very likely seasonally or yearly to the king, and hold a big town hall meeting, maybe for several days, for weeks. And in that big meeting or party, the work was reviewed, and the reward was given by the king of Zhou, and then they have a lot of the entertainment together to enhance their relationship between the king and those senior state lord. So this poem basically is describing this big event, very likely in the autumn season. In general speaking, this poem is of no difference with those drinking parties, poems about drinking parties, about shooting games. Basically, it's about how magnificent the Lord, the King was, how wonderful, how happy the atmosphere was, how the ground great the sacrifice was. Basically, it's all about the very happy and glory moments. Just imagine we wrote a poem, try to praise the king of today. Let's say the king of UK, the king of Netherlands, the king of Spain. How would you write that poem? The outlook, the happy atmosphere, the strong and beautiful horses, the wonderful music, whatsoever. So there's no big difference between China and other countries. There's no big difference between today and the very ancient Zhou dynasty. The specialty of this poem is it gave us some of the very detailed description of their clothing, the clothing of the most prestigious people in the Zhou country. Okay, let's see. The title 采菽 means to harvest the soybeans. The character shu means the soybeans. So this has two implications. First thing first, the season. It's September or October or in the August lunar calendar. And the other thing is the soybean is a key material for the ground ceremony, the most ground ceremony of the year in the autumn's time. And so to harvest the soybeans means you are preparing for that grand ceremony, for the moment. And from the history books, the soybean, the beans could be used for all kinds of sauces, and the leaves is a key spice for the to cook the beef. So there's a lot of details. So shu is very important because the beef is the most important sacrifice, or which means it's a most grand ceremony because you use the beef as the sacrifice. For small normal ceremony sacrifices, the beef was not allowed to use. So whenever you saw the beef used in the ceremony, for the sacrifice, this refers to the most high level ground ceremony, the sacrifice. So there's so much details. When a Zhou people read the first sentence, 采菽采菽, harvest the soybean, harvest the soybean. So it's not so simple. And then 筐之莒之, 筐, the basket with the shape of square. 莒is also the basket, but it's with the shape of the circle, round shape. So here actually doesn't mean too much, but means they harvest the soybeans and carry all those harvest soybeans with the baskets. They are full of baskets, so it's a joy of harvest, good harvest. The second pair of sentence, 君子来朝，何赐予之? The state laws are coming. What should I reward them? So there's two key things. First thing first, 朝, the character 朝, the very original meaning means the early morning, but finally it became a very, very key word through the ancient China, even till the Qing dynasty. So most of the cases, 朝 means the assembly in the morning in the central government. So the government of the Zhou dynasty is like this. The daily assembly was by the king and the officers in the central government, and seasonally those senior state laws will come to the capital and attend the morning assembly. But it's not such a simple morning assembly, but there's with many process and activities afterwards. The grand ceremonies to sacrifice to the ancestors, maybe shooting games, and of course drinking parties. But basically the main purpose is to attend the morning assembly to review and discuss all the state affairs with the king. So the term 朝廷, so in the surface means the hall in the morning, but because the character 朝 has so much profound meaning through the very early time, so it becomes a term, official term, the most decent term to describe the central government. So it could be only used for the central government. Of course, in the ancient China, in the dynasty time, not today. Okay, the third pair of sentence. 虽无予之，路车乘马. So the previous sentence asked, what can I reward to my dear state lords? So this is a question from the king of Zhou, and this is the answer. It looks like I don't have too much to give to them, but still I can give them the chariots, I can give them horses. So 路车 is the chariot for traveling, and the other type of chariot is for war. So it's two different chariot you can see in the picture. It's just like a cabinet, this chariot. If it's a chariot for war, it's just like an open roof car. So the people can stand on that chariot with their weapons, with their bows. And okay, the next sentence. 又何予之，玄衮及黼. So what else I can reward to my state lords? The clothes with dragon, the black clothes with dragon, and with fine pattern on the edge. So here is a little bit complicated. The clothing represents their social levels, so different levels of the noble person and the average person, they can only wear the clothing defined for them. 玄衮 is the most high level people could wear of. 衮 means the dragon, 玄 means black, so it's the black suit with a colored dragon on it, or it's sort of the clothes with a black dragon on that. I have no idea, but there is a dragon on that clothes, and something is black of that clothes, so that's the deal. And the 黼 is the edge, refers to the edge of the suit, and it was with the fine silk with very fine patterns on it. So this is also a privilege to have. So if you are not belongs to the sort of the level, social level, you cannot have those fine silk on the edge of your clothes. So that's all refers to the social level, and that's the best things for those state lords, because in the Zhou dynasty, some of the fine industries could only be operated by the king. So the chariot, even you are the most prestigious state lord, you cannot produce the chariot by yourself. So the chariot, the fine silk, the bows, the best bows are always rewarded or gave by the king of Zhou, and so that's the relationship between the state lord and the king of Zhou. They are supporting each other, and on other way they should limit each other or constrain each other with some of their maneuvers. So the first paragraph basically tells us the town hall of the Zhou country was preparing, and the state lords are on their way to the capital to meet with the king, and it tells us the king prepared a lot things. Some of things to reward to the state lord. Some of the things, the soybeans was prepared for the whole ceremony, the big ceremony. Of course, the things to be prepared is not such less limited to the chariot, the clothes, the fine clothes, the soybeans. There's so many things to be prepared, but in a poem, the poet only picked out some of the very highlights to reflect a situation, to reflect the atmosphere. The second paragraph. 必福见泉，言采其芹. At the pond of spring, we collect the Chinese celery. So this is also the preparation for the grand ceremony. The celery is a key sauces or key veggies for that grand ceremony as a sacrifice. 必福 described the spring water was coming up with bubbles just like a boiled water. So it's a very clean and nice and lively spring water. So here reflects the they choose the best breed of the celery from the best ponds or from the best spring water. 君子来朝，言观其旂. The state lords are coming to this town hall meeting, and let's see their flag. 旗, a flag. There are so many flags with different characters. This character, 旗, refers the flag with the logo of that state, of that family, a sort of the insignia flag. So looking to those flags described those very vivid scenario that when the state lords on their way go to the capital area, people are at the roadside and looking to those flags. Oh, this is states A, that is states B, and this is what, and that is what. So they're looking to the flag to distinguish which states is coming. Okay, here the following sentence. 其其辟辟，鸾声嘒嘒. The flags are waving so lively. PP refers to the flag waving. 鸾声, the bell on the chariot, sounds very nicely. So how exactly the term 嘒嘒is? The 嘒嘒is describing the sound of the bell, the bronze bell on the chariot, describing the sound. How exactly the sound it is? Actually, I have no idea, and actually I don't think anybody has a very accurate idea. Well, anyhow, just know it. It's the sound. Okay, the next sentence. 载三载四，君子所藉. So this is describing the chariot, the details of the chariot. It has 6 horses, and that's the state lords are driving. He was riding on. 借 means coming, or he was by that, he was on that chariot. 参 refers to the horses at both sides, so it's 2 horses. And 载四, 四 means 4 horses in the middle. So finally, there are 6 horses. So here is the thing, is an argument. It could referring to the king of Zhou. So per the code of conduct, so it's not very clearly known by today's people, but there's a very strong believing that the king of Zhou, he drive the chariot with 6 horses, and the people under him drive the horses with drive the chariot with 4 horses. All those reflect the different levels. Only the king could have 6 horses. So in this poem, 载三载四 clearly tell us that chariot is with 6 horses. But anyhow, it's hard for us to believe that those state laws drive the chariot with 6 horses to attend the meeting. So that's a big violation to the code of conduct. So very likely it's the king of Zhou drive his chariot to the suburb to meet with those state laws. And so that's also explained to look at those flags of the state laws. So it's the king of Zhou. He was looking to the big troop of chariots with flags to try to distinguish which states was coming. This is also defined in the code of conduct that the king of Zhou should meet those state laws at the suburb of the capital. So just keep in mind the code of conduct I'm referring here might not be exactly the code of conduct in the Zhou dynasty. It was a book written in the warrior states, and a lot of the things, or some of the things in that book was proved are not real or not exactly the same with the real code of conduct in the Zhou dynasty. So the second paragraph basically describing the state laws are coming to the capital area, and the king of Zhou went out of the town and meet those state laws at the suburb. The third paragraph, 赤芾在股，邪幅在下. Okay, it's the clothing, the costume we're talking about at the very beginning. 赤芾 in the picture is the red piece of cloth or leather in front of the person to cover his stomach and his upper leg. And 邪幅 is the straps around his lower leg. And in the picture, it's not tiled. 邪幅 means tiled. 邪 means tiled. So this is the most decent clothing by the most prestigious state laws in the most decent situation. And we can see 赤芾 in many places in the Book of Songs, and it always refers to the very prestigious laws. And 邪幅 is only could be only seen in this poem, the only place we saw this term. Okay, the next sentence, 彼交匪үш，天子所予. So this town hall, this meeting up, this relationship, you cannot be careless, because all those things are given by the king of Zhou, 天子, the son of heaven. That's the king of Zhou. So 予, the very original meaning means slowly. In Chinese, especially when describing a meetup or relationship between two parties. Slow means very bad, careless, and in today we put it as 怠慢. So you treat some other people slowly, carelessly. That's not a good behavior. That's not polite. Okay, the next sentence. 乐之君子，天子命之. Let's entertain and let's bless those state laws. And the king of Zhou gave the order to them. The next sentence. 乐之君子，福禄申之. Let's entertain and let's bless those state laws, and the God bless them with fortune and luck. So very likely, it doesn't give us much details, but very likely it's describing the grand ceremony in the ancestors' temples. They pray and offer their sacrifice to the heaven, to their ancestors, and at the same time the king of Zhou gave them order. The order, of course, including the command, including the reward, including the blessings from the kings, and also the heaven, their ancestors, blessed those state laws through the witches normally, or through some of the other godfathers. Shen is an alternative term of Shen, and in the very ancient meaning, it's the person, sort of the godfather, someone between the heaven and the normal people, and the blessing from the heaven, from the God, is through this character, Shen or Shen. So the third paragraph gave us some of the detailed descriptions on the clothing on the state laws, and very likely it's the second or several days after they arrived the capital, and through the last two pair of sentences, 乐之君子，天子命之，乐之君子，福禄申之, we know very clearly it's describing a big ceremony, a sacrifice in the family's temple to the heaven, to their ancestors, and that's also the place for the town hall, for the morning assembly. The poet did not write anything about the morning assembly, about the town hall meeting. He just wrote to the last several steps about the sacrifice, the offering to the ancestors, to the heavens. And anyhow, if you are a Zhou people, you know there's a long process. A lot of activities happened already, and then they went to the last few activities, which is the most happy and fortunate activities, the blessing from the king, the blessing from the heaven, and that's the best part of this whole big activity. The fourth paragraph, 惟秱之枝，其叶蓬蓬. The branches of the trees, it has so many prosperous leaves around it. 蓬蓬 describes the leaves are so prosperous and so many. So this is the very typical writing technique in the Book of Songs, 兴, to write something others, something around. And also it's a parallel to the Zhou society, or the how the Zhou society was constructed. The king, the ancestors, was the main stem, and then the followers, the descendants, are the branches, and all other sub-states, small states, are the leaves around them. The people are the leaves around those laws. The Zhou king, or the laws of Zhou, are never tireless of educating their people, how their country was composed of, and how the order was maintained, and they make it very picturesque, very easily to the people. We are the tree, the whole society, the whole country was a tree. I'm the branch, you are the leaves. So the next sentence is extending to this parallel. 乐之君子，乐之君子，奠天子之邦. So let's entertain and blessing those laws in this big meeting hall, in the families, in the ancestors' temple. They are the food of they are just like the food, the cornerstones of the whole country, of the Zhou dynasty. 殿 is the cornerstones. So it's also a very picturesque writings. Just imagine the king of Zhou are on the upside in this big meeting hall above the steps, and all the state laws are under him, just like the cornerstones. And they are the of course they are the cornerstones of the Zhou country. The king himself doesn't make a good or complete country. So it's the very picturesque described how the Zhou country was made of. So the fourth paragraph continued describing the grand ceremony, the sacrifice to heaven, to their ancestors. And the next sentence, 乐之君子，万福忧同. Let's entertain, let's blessing all those laws, and all of them will have the 10,000 fortune, 10,000 lucks. So this is a blessing from the king, from the heaven, from their ancestors. 10,000 of fortunes, they all will have it. 平平左右，以示率从. The people standing below at the same level, at left, at right, they all accord, or they follow it. Follow what? Follow the blessing. They all share the 10,000 fortune, 10,000 lucks with the laws blessed in through this poem. The last sentence parallel the real situation with the real social structures. So in this big meeting hall in the ancestors' temple, the king was on the upstairs. The lords was in the center of the halls, and there's still a lot of people on the left, on the right, standing at the same level with the state laws. And so they are the leaves of the branches. So is it very picturesque, right? So they share the same, they follow their laws, and they share the fortunes and lucks with their laws, 平平左右. So you can see how picturesque or how wonderful they describe this real situation. 以势率从, so they all follow and share the fortunes and lucks with the laws. Okay, the last paragraph. 泛泛扬州，浮离为之. Let's sail the boat, and the flags on the boat are waving lively. So 泛, sail a boat. 扬, sail a boat is the same thing. Today we still say 泛舟 or we say 扬州. It's the same thing. We sail a boat. 浮离, there's other explanations, but here I think it refers to the flags on the boat, and it's waving lively. What for to sail a boat in such an important state affair, in such an important grand ceremony? So if we reference another poem, 宾之初宴, so very likely it's the last few activities, the shooting games. So it's the game to divide their reward. So by the shooting their result in the lake, in the pond, or in the shooting ground, the king will reward those state laws per the shooting result. So let's see the following sentence. It's very convincing to this explanation. 乐之君子，天子攜之. So let's entertain and blessing the state laws. The king will measure it. 攜 means measure it. Measure what? Measure the result of the shooting games. The winner will get the best reward. He will get the best chariot, the best horses. He will get the most fine clothing from the king. Of course, there's a lot of many other things, but from this point, we know at least the chariot, the horses, the fine clothes. Okay, the next sentence. 乐之君子，福禄辟之. Let's entertain and bless the state's laws. Let's give them the fortunes and their assets to them. So that's the reward from the king, right? The fortune is from the ancestors, from the heaven, through the grand ceremony. They have it already in the third and the fourth paragraph. And Lu is the sort of the salary, the wealth that the king gave to them. And in the previous sentence, the king has decided how to reward every state's laws. And in the third pair of sentence, the king gave them. Okay, then last sentence. 悠哉悠哉，以是利矣. 悠哉悠哉 describe the person. The state laws are so happy, they are so relaxed. By what? By the blessings, by the reward the king gave to him, right? He have the reward already by the result of the shooting game. 以是利矣, that's the most we could reach. 利 means rich. Or to get to somewhere. 以是利矣 means that's the best place, or this is the farthest place we could get. What place? The level of happiness, the level of joyful. This poet is a very modest person. We can see from this sentence, 以是利. He didn't say it straightforward. He just said, oh, okay, this is the best status we could reach. And we can see his modest in another sentence. 君子来朝何赐予之 虽无予之 路车乘马. So the state's laws are coming. What thing could we reward them? Even though I don't have much, I don't have something to reward the state's laws, but I still could reward them with the chariots, with the horses. So this poet is a very funny and a very modest guy. So his writing is very with modesty. Let's review the whole poem again. So this poem clearly tells us it's about the most grand ceremony in the autumn, that the senior state lords are coming from different places to the capital, to the places somewhere near Xi'an today, to see the king of Zhou, to have their yearly review meeting and rewarding meeting. And the king would drive his grand chariot with 6 horses to the suburb to meet them. And that's a very, very happy and grand ceremony. And they prayed to the Lord, their heaven, to their ancestors, to beg for their fortunes for the coming years. And they have it by the ordering from the king, from the blessings from the heaven, from their ancestors. And finally, they hold the game of shooting games, which I think everybody enjoy it or like it the most in the whole process, in the whole activities. By the result of the shooting games, the reward was decided and divided to every state laws, and that's maybe the final few activities of this big grand town hall meeting or whatsoever. From other poems we read that very likely the whole activity was ended by a huge drinking party with everybody drunk and then left the capital. A lot of big companies have annual meetings. If it's a multinationals, the people will fly to a resort all over the world to that resort and hold their review meeting as well as the rewarding meeting for few days, and then celebrate with wines, with all kinds of games. And from this poem you can see sometimes 3,000 years ago the king of Zhou played this game very well. Okay, that's for today. Bye bye.